The sky over the harbor glowed orange that night, too bright, too violent to be a sunset. People on the pier were screaming, pointing, running. But one man didn't move. He just stared at the burning yacht drifting dangerously close to the rocks. The flames climbed higher every second, crackling like they were eating the sky itself. And somewhere inside that boat, someone was trapped. Most people saw a disaster. But the single dad standing on the dock saw something else. He saw a chance to save a life. And without waiting for anyone to act, without calling for help or asking for permission, he sprinted straight toward the water and dove in. Before we get deeper into this emotional story, make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment here on your channel name. Your support helps us share more powerful stories of kindness, courage, and hope. Ethan Cole wasn't a man who believed he was special. He was a mechanic, a single dad, and just trying to hold his life together after losing his wife 4 years earlier. Most days, he woke up before dawn, dropped his 8-year-old daughter Lily at school, worked long hours, and came home too exhausted to think about much besides paying bills and keeping his little girl smiling. But kindness was something he never let go of, not even when life got heavy, not even when loneliness swallowed whole weeks at a time. His wife, Anna, had once told him, kindness doesn't need money. Just courage. Ethan lived by that. On that summer evening, he had taken Lily down to the marina so she could look at boats, her favorite thing in the world. They were eating ice cream and laughing about how seagulls looked like they were always complaining about something. A normal moment. A quiet moment. Until they heard the explosion. The yacht went up like a matchstick. People scattered, yelling for help. Someone shouted that a man was still inside. He'd gone below deck right before the fire started. The Coast Guard was still 10 minutes away. 10 minutes the trapped man didn't have. Ethan turned to Lily. She was trembling, holding his hand tight. He knelt down to her level. "Sweetheart. I need you to stay here. Don't move. I'll be right back." She nodded, tears filling her eyes. "Daddy, please don't go." Ethan kissed her forehead. "I'll always come back for you. Always." And then he ran. The water was cold, dark, and unforgiving, but Ethan pushed through it, kicking harder when the heat from the burning boat hit him like a wall. He reached the ladder, climbed up, and pulled his shirt over his mouth. He could barely see through the smoke. Inside, the air was thick and deadly. The fire roared like it had a mind of its own, chasing every breath. Ethan moved fast, checking every corner, calling out, coughing, pushing burning debris aside. Finally, he found him. A man in a light gray suit, unconscious on the floor, blood on his forehead. Ethan didn't know who he was. Didn't know his net worth, his job title, or why he had a yacht big enough to look like a floating mansion. To Ethan, he was just a human life. He hoisted the man over his shoulder, flames licking the walls as the boat groaned under them. Halfway to the exit, the floor gave way, and Ethan slipped, landing hard on one knee. Pain shot up his leg. But he didn't stop. He tightened his grip and pushed forward. The moment they reached the railing, Ethan didn't think, he jumped. They hit the water with a heavy splash, the man's head barely above the surface. Ethan kicked, choking, swimming with one arm while keeping the stranger afloat with the other. Smoke filled the air, burning his throat. By the time he dragged the man back to the dock, Ethan was shaking. His arms felt like lead. His chest burned from the smoke. But he got the man up onto the pier. People rushed forward to help. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ethan stepped back, trying to catch his breath. He looked over the crowd. Lily stood right where he left her, crying and holding her little backpack. He walked to her, picked her up, and held her tight. "Daddy," she whispered into his neck, "you came back." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I told you I would, Angel." While people swarmed around the rescued man, no one noticed Ethan slipping away with Lily. No cameras. No reporters. No applause. Just a single dad holding his daughter's hand, walking home quietly through the night. The man he rescued, Samuel Hart, was one of the most powerful billionaires in the country. CEO of Heart Industries. Known for his brilliance, and for having a heart as cold as his steel and glass headquarters building. When Samuel woke up in the hospital, confused and bandaged, he asked only one question. Who saved me? But no one knew. Ethan hadn't given his name. He never spoke to a single EMT. He simply vanished into the crowd. Samuel Hart wasn't used to not knowing things. He wasn't used to being vulnerable. And for the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't felt since he lost his wife a decade earlier. He felt grateful. He ordered a search, offering a massive reward, putting out statements, begging for the mystery hero to come forward, not for publicity, but because he wanted to thank the person who'd risked their life to save his. Weeks passed. No one came forward. Samuel found himself sitting awake at night, wondering why a stranger would help him so selflessly. He'd spent years surrounded by people who only cared about his wealth, his power, his influence. But this man, a man who didn't even leave a name. He helped purely out of kindness. Months later, fate did the rest. One rainy afternoon, Samuel's luxury sedan broke down along the side of a quiet road outside the city. His driver had the day off. Cell service was terrible. And Samuel, angry, soaked, and exhausted, started walking. A small auto shop came into view. The sign was faded, the paint peeling, but the lights were still on. Samuel stepped inside, shaking water off his coat. A mechanic was bent over a car engine, sleeves rolled up. When he looked up, Samuel froze. It was him. The single dad from the marina. The man who'd saved his life. Ethan didn't recognize Samuel at first, not without the suit, not without the chaos or the fire. He just walked over and said with a smile, "Rough day? Want me to take a look at your car?" Samuel didn't answer. He just stared at him. "You're the man," Samuel finally whispered. "The man from the yacht." Ethan frowned, wiping grease from his hands. You're the guy I pulled out?" Samuel nodded, emotion tightening his throat. "You saved my life." Ethan shrugged softly. "Anyone would have done it." "No," Samuel said, voice breaking. "They wouldn't." He told Ethan how he'd been searching for him. How he wanted to repay him. How he owed him everything. But Ethan shook his head. "You don't owe me a thing. I didn't do it for a reward." "Then why?" Samuel asked. Ethan looked down, thinking of his daughter. "Because my little girl was watching. And I want her to know that when someone needs help, you help." Those words shattered something inside Samuel, something stiff and lonely that had grown there since he lost his own family. He swallowed hard, blinking back tears. "Ethan," he said quietly, "let me do something for you." "For your daughter." Ethan hesitated. "We're fine." "Really?" But Samuel saw the truth. The worn tools. The tired eyes. The small shop barely holding together. "Please," Samuel said, voice soft. "Let me be kind too." 2 months later, Ethan stood speechless in front of his new auto shop, twice the size, fully renovated, with better tools than he'd ever dreamed of. A small sign on the front read, "Cole and Daughter Auto Repair." Lily hugged her dad's leg, beaming. "Daddy! It has my name on it." Ethan looked at Samuel, now a friend, not a billionaire, and felt his eyes sting. "You didn't have to do this." Samuel smiled. "You showed me kindness when I didn't deserve it. All I'm doing is passing it on." And for the first time in a long time, Ethan let himself feel proud, not because he'd saved a billionaire, but because he'd changed someone's heart. Kindness had done what money never could. It had healed them both. Sometimes the world tells us that kindness doesn't matter, that people only look out for themselves, that ordinary folks can't make a difference. But Ethan, a tired mechanic, a widowed dad, a man just trying his best, proved that a single act of courage can ripple outward in ways we never expect. Because kindness doesn't just save lives. It restores hope. It inspires others. It brings light into places that have been dark for far too long. So as you go about your day,